Over the past year and a half, I haven't played any game more than I've played For Honor. I have fun playing it, I enjoy talking about it, and what really keeps me coming back is honestly duels and brawls. They're my favorite game modes, and even when Breach comes out, I'll still probably prefer them over Breach, because currently, Breach just takes an extremely long time to finish one match. Now, about a week ago, I talked about a bunch of things that I wish For Honor had, but I sort of danced around the one thing that I think For Honor really needs. And if you've been playing this game for at least 2 seasons, then you probably understand where I'm coming from. But For Honor really lacks in the balancing department. I appreciate that the game is still being worked on as this sort of live service type of thing. And I also understand that Marching Fire has been the team's focus for the past couple of months. But this is an issue that's been looming over this game since its release. Now, I'm not asking for weekly patches or anything, but I think that the patches we do get should contain things that bring the heroes closer together. I don't think there's a single problem more important than this one facing For Honor. Forget the voices, team colors, the broken HUD and user interface. I'm 100% positive that For Honor will be in a much better state if we had more frequent updates. And when I say this, I don't think that UB is literally doing nothing. For Honor has changed a whole bunch since its release, and to their credit, for the most part, they've done a good job in adding things to the game that people wanted, like dedicated servers, new heroes, new game modes and events, executions and emotes. I mean, we're definitely getting content, but I think that we benefit from a season dedicated to balancing things out. And I really thought that was the plan for Season 5 and 6. I do think Season 5 was pretty good, with the big Conqueror, Kensei, and Berserker reworks, and then the big adjustments to Highlander and Ibushi. And then Season 6 and 7 rolled around, and we got more reworks for Peacekeeper, Orochi, Valkyrie, and Warden, which were nowhere near as good as the Season 5 reworks. They felt a little rushed now that we have a chance to look back at all of them. But we didn't get any more of those big adjustments. And maybe that's because of Marching Fire, but I would really like to see hero rebalances for a few of the other heroes, because I think that for the next couple of months, Breach and the Wulin faction are going to be what the devs focus on. I know that they're going to need patches, especially since there are 4 heroes being released rather than 2, and they're going to have a huge impact on the game. Anyways, as much as we'd all love to see these huge updates that completely overhaul and rework heroes, I don't see that happening. I think it'd be nice if we could get a few small updates more frequently that don't just fix a few bugs. Maybe a few numbered tweaks on damage and stamina costs, or fixing the tracking on certain attacks, or even speeding up and slowing down certain moves regardless of how silly they'll look. There's been a couple of attacks that come straight to my mind, and they're not even the faster 400 millisecond attacks, because I've just accepted that I'm going to be hit by those, even on PC. On console, I try not to even get upset about it, because console For Honor has basically just been tossed to the side at this point, even though it's what I like to play on. But these attacks, of course, are Conqueror's Shield Bash, Highlander's Kick Toss, and Warden's Shoulder Bash. I asked you guys which one of these you find the most annoying, to which about 10,000 of you answered, which I appreciate. And of course, the attack with the most votes was Conqueror's Shield Bash. I was a little surprised that Kick Toss had about 1,000 more votes than Shoulder Bash, since they both confirm the same amount of damage, and you can just roll away from Highlander's Kick Toss. Conqueror's Shield Bash is extremely good. It's Conqueror's best tool, and arguably his only offensive tool. It can be delayed, it's fast, you can perform it from side dodges, and it guarantees damage. There are people who want it to come out at a fixed time and not be delayable anymore, and there's some people who want it to just not guarantee any damage for some reason, but doing either of these would just make Conqueror worse overall. I can't stand the Shield Bash, but I know that if Conk gets it taken away, then he'll have absolutely no offense whatsoever. Sure, he's got his light attacks, but against an opponent who can block, they mean nothing, and he has his charge heavy and all, but they're not worth much outside of 4s. He's still got a great defense though. Now, I'm a little surprised that this hasn't been addressed by the devs. They did mess around with his full block, but left his bash untouched. I get that you need to be careful with it, as neutering the bash would really hurt Conqueror, but maybe they could try a few things rather than just leaving his bash the way it is and keeping it as Conqueror's main offensive tool. I personally think that having a bash make or break a hero's offense is a bad thing. Honestly, if they just increase the recovery on a whiff shield bash, I'd be happy at this point. That way, if I see that it's coming, I should be able to dodge and punish it safely. And maybe if they nerf the bash, then he could get a slightly faster unblockable, since he has to feint it into that nerfed full block already. The Highlander kick toss is pretty frustrating to fight against if you're not paying attention or fully invested in the game. I actually think out of the 3 moves we'll be talking about that the kick toss is the easiest one to get away from because there are a couple different ways to deal with it. But if you just try to dodge it like any other bash, you're about to lose a literal third of your health bar with his abusive free 40 damage follow-up. I honestly hate kick toss, but I'm okay with it being in the game since it can be countered. What I'm not okay with is that the reward is far greater than the risk for Highlander if you don't smack him out of it. If you choose to play his game and decide to dodge, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. I think that 40 damage is the problem for most people. I think that they could lower the damage just a bit to either 30 or 35, just so it's not a 3-hit kill to most heroes. You nerf the damage too much and Highlander loses some of his utility in 4v4, and with Breach coming soon, I want every hero to bring something to the table in team fights. As for everyone who has trouble with the kick toss, when in doubt, roll away. It may not give you the satisfaction of punishing Highlander, but you'll give yourself space and enough time to decide what you're going to do to get him out of his offensive stance. Now, Warden's shoulder bash, a while ago I made the mistake of saying this. Overall, I think the rework is just really well balanced and is one of the best ones we've gotten. It's not the most versatile kit in the world, but it does just enough to make Warden a lot of fun to play. And I think Yubi did a good job at making sure his shoulder wasn't better than his sword. Nothing in his kit makes him feel corny or cheesy, and I don't see myself ever getting frustrated fighting him the way I do against an option selecting Conqueror who won't throw anything other than shoulder bashing after empty dashing over and over. I find him pretty fun to fight against, and this is coming from someone who really didn't like Warden at all. And now I sort of regret saying this because now the Warden mains have evolved and using his sword has taken a backseat to his shoulder all over again. I still like Warden now. I think that he's better than he was, and honestly, I wouldn't even be talking about him right now if it wasn't for the fact that his fully charged shoulder bash guarantees 40 damage, has incredible range, and can be feinted. Without sugarcoating it, shoulder bash is an incredibly good move and is easily the best part of his kit. It can be accessed in a ton of ways, from a dodge, from back dodge, or after an attack. It's really safe to use because it can be feinted during the charge, which is okay I guess, but it can also be feinted 100 milliseconds into the bash itself, which just doesn't make any sense to me. If Warden decides to fully charge his bash and sees that his opponent is clearly going to dodge, he can just feint it. I get it, it's not supposed to be really easy to react to, and it's not supposed to get shut down by dodging on sight. My biggest problem with the new shoulder bash is that it guarantees 40 damage after it's been fully charged, and it's really safe. That's a third of most heroes' health, and I'd like to see it toned down just a bit. And he sort of shares this with Conk, but say shoulder bash gets nerfed pretty hard. Then we're right back where we started before the rework, except now he has an unblockable top heavy and a dashing heavy. I think removing the ability to feint it after he fully charges is a step in the right direction. If I guessed right and see my opponent fully charging, he shouldn't be able to feint it. He chose to fully charge and let it fly, going for that 40 damage follow-up. If I make the read, Warden shouldn't be relieved of a punish, because if I guessed wrong and dodged on the uncharged timing, then I'm taking the hit. With these 3 moves, I don't think any massive updates are necessary. No animation changes or anything. At most, a couple number changes messing with speeds. We know it's possible as we've seen it done before. Maybe removing the ability to feint might be a little more work, but still I think everything we talked about was pretty minor. A damage adjustment for Highlander, a recovery time adjustment for Conk, and if possible, the removal of a feint. The first 2 could definitely be added in one patch. I really think damage is an easy one. I'm no developer or anything, but I imagine it can't take very long to adjust, say, Shinobi's damage. 24 damage from a light attack is a little much considering Valkyrie gets the same amount of damage for a heavy. You could also use these small patches to help a few heroes out, again, just adjusting a few minor things. For example, we could speed up a few attacks, like Lawbringer's Shove, or speed up chain lights for slower heroes so they don't get parried so easily, or even adjust the damage on feats. I'm not saying that every single update should be this huge rework or anything, just a few things here and there to keep the game fresh and bring every hero a little closer to an even playing field. I know that small patches won't help Shogoki hold his own against Berserker or anything, but it's a lot better than nothing. I'm not sure if For Honor will have much content after Marching Fire. Maybe this will be the last big addition to the game, or they could just keep adding on to the game. We don't know yet. But I think that if they're going to want to keep players, especially the new ones, invested in the game, then we're going to need more frequent balancing. I know we'll never have perfect balance. I've been saying that for a while, and I don't think we even want perfect balance. What we do want is for the worst hero in the game to at least have a chance to win against the best hero in the game, and we shouldn't have heroes who rely on one move. I think the game has been heading in the right direction for the most part, just at a really slow pace. This game came out in February last year, and we're just now to the point where I think a little more than half the cast are in a good spot, with the other half being below average. As I said recently, I get it, they've been working on this huge Marching Fire update, but afterwards I think we could speed things up a little bit, even if they're minor changes. Some heroes go for months without being worked on or addressed, and it sort of sucks for people who really like the way a weaker hero looks, but don't want to feel helpless against players that can defend himself. I think that in a game where fighting is the focus, balance should be one of, if not the top priority. Anyways, that's all I got for this video. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while now, but just never sat down and tried to put it into words. I do want to hear your opinion on this though, so talk to me down in the comments. Would you rather have more frequent, smaller updates or big seasonal updates? And as always, if you agree with me or just like the video, feel free to leave a like and something new, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.